Hey homeschoolers, welcome to our live for tonight. We're talking about how to find your homeschool rhythm, how to find your homeschool sweet spot, and I'm really excited to be sharing this time with you tonight. Finding the difference between your homeschool rhythm and your homeschool sweet spot and having a routine can be a tricky thing. And after many years of homeschooling, I know I've come on a very long journey from structured homeschooling with a timetable to a completely different place. And so I want to share that with you tonight. I know some of you may have been homeschooling for a really long time. Some of you, I know people that have been asking questions are just new and just starting. And so welcome to all of you. And this is a community space, and so we're going to share some stuff together in the chat, and I can see the chat as it pops up, and that's a really good space for us to support each other, because if you're newish to homeschool or brand new to homeschool, you can ask questions, and when you ask a question, you can be sure that other people are thinking the same thing. And if you've been homeschooling for longer, you may have hints and tips that are things that you've found that you're able to share with people that are asking questions as well. And sometimes when we've been doing it a long time, we're just kind of stuck in our own little space, and you hear something from someone else and you go, wow, that's such a cool idea. And one cool idea can actually make a really big difference to our year. And so welcome to finding our homeschool rhythm, finding our homeschool sweet spot. So first of all, question first up, because it's always really good to have some chat to help us interact with each other, and to get some comments in the chat that help me to be able to talk about this topic with you and the people that are actually here, because you are real people really doing this. Okay, so my question is, let's start with an easy one. If you were to pick the best time of your day when you're most alert, most ready to do something, what's your best time of day to get stuff done? Okay, so can you think about this just for yourself at the moment, so not your kids yet, just you. What's your best time of day to get stuff done? Are you a morning person? Are you a really early morning person? I used to get up and get a lot of my work done between about 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. because I could be sure to get that done by myself uninterrupted, and I am a morning person. I know we have staff in Simply Homeschool who get their best work done after about 9 p.m. at night, between 9 and 1 a.m. Really, I have no comprehension of that. When is your best time for getting your work done? When do you like working? When can you concentrate? When do you feel calm and settled and you like to just be uninterrupted and get your stuff done? Okay, and people have different times for that. And so if you can post that into the chat below, that's a really good thing to share with each other, because as people share their times, we'll see that all of us are different. Different people have different times. And also have a little think about how long that time is, because we're going to talk a little bit about flow as well. And all of us have an amount of time that we can dig into flow. So flow is when we get really concentrating on something and we kind of lose track of time because we're so involved in what we're doing. And this is one of the things that helps to create our sweet spot. And our homeschool rhythm is the length of our kids' flow. And I would actually suggest to you that's one of these two things that we're talking about right now are actually pretty key to finding your homeschool rhythm and your homeschool sweet spot. Now I'm not sure if people have put stuff in the chat or not, and my comment bar isn't working. I'm not sure. I'm not getting stuff coming up here. So I'm not sure whether people are not putting things in the chat. I encourage you to put that into the chat. When's your best time of day? And how long is your flow for? Mine's about 1:50, I think. Once I hit 2 hours, I really fall over, but I can do more than an hour and a half. I can sort of get nearly to 2 hours. And my best time is probably now maybe 10 o'clock or so to get some stuff done. Maybe a bit earlier, maybe 8:39 is probably my best time. What's yours? Okay, so once you've thought about what your own best time is and what your own flow is. So your flow, if you haven't heard that term before, is when you're really concentrating on something. So, pardon me, once you get your head into it, you're actually really concentrating and you can get your best work done. And I know that my son and I used to talk about this when during COVID lockdown we were both running businesses, and we would talk about the length of our flow and how to get into our flow, how to stay there, and then there'd come a point where you're just out of your flow, that's it, it's done, and you need to have a break. So what I want you to think about is what this is like for your kids and when their best time of day is, and how long is their flow. Now, this is just a tiny part of what we're going to talk about tonight, but it's a really good idea to have a little bit of that in your minds. So when is thinking about your child or your kids, what's their best time of day? And you could ask them, if you're not sure, when do they feel like they can concentrate the best? For some kids, it's really early in the morning. Some kids, it might be in the middle of the day or after some exercise. Some kids actually need to wear off a lot of energy first before they can concentrate. Some kids, it's actually later in the afternoon, or it might even be their best time after dinner. I don't comprehend this. I don't understand this, but for some people, this is actually the case. And for some of our kids, this is the case. Okay, so when you're thinking about finding your homeschool rhythm, these are going to be factors into how you create your homeschool rhythm. Okay, so I'm going to suggest some other things that are really worthwhile. Might be great to grab a piece of paper. If you haven't got a piece of paper and a pen, that might be a really good thing to do, because this is going to be a little bit practical. I've got some things that you can do to actually get your rhythm, a potential rhythm, one that might possibly work, down on paper. Okay, so grab yourself a piece of paper, grab yourself a pen. It could be scrap paper, it can be the back of anything. Okay, you just need a bit of drawing space and something to draw with. And I'm going to help you actually to think about how to create a rhythm that works for you. Okay, now we've had some questions. A few people have sent questions in to help us get going. So Stacey said that she would really like it to have a think about how to help her kids learn independently. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Holly mentioned that she's got 2 kids that need quite a lot of individual help, and one of them likes the morning and one of them likes the afternoon. This can be a good thing or a bad thing, Holly. So on a good note, you've got time to work with each of them independently, one at a time. On a frustrating note, it could take you all day to get your homeschool done, working like that. So we're going to touch on that as well. Belinda has mentioned that she's got 2 kids doing 2 different phonics courses, 2 different maths courses, and a newborn. Belinda, you're really busy. And Lana has said she's just starting with her 13-year-old, and they were really enthusiastic, and now they're suddenly feeling a little nervous, and that's okay. That's perfectly normal. And Mel has mentioned that they have lots of activities in their family, and that means that not much stuff gets done at home. Okay, so let's start with some of those things as we and you can make notes on your piece of paper. Okay, so leave yourself some space where you're going to create your rhythm, but you also might want to put some of the answers to some of these questions for your family. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is there is no perfect way to do this. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Some things will work better than others, and whatever you figure out will only ever last for a while. Okay, because our kids grow and our kids change, and things in our life move and change. And so whatever your rhythm is, whatever your sweet spot is, even if you find your perfect rhythm and your perfect sweet spot, it won't stay there forever, because as your kids grow and change, your sweet spot and your rhythm will grow and change as well. And so so nothing is ever static and set in concrete, okay? There's no perfect way to do this, but I'm going to give you some guidelines about how you can try and figure out what might work and how you can make adjustments to get it working as well as you can in your family, so that you've got a rhythm and a flow that feels comfortable and good for you and works in your family. Okay, so first of all, on your piece of paper, I want you to have a little think about these things, okay? Write down the word alert. When do you think your kids are most alert? And you may have to put initials for different kids. When are they most alert and alert in a ready to learn kind of way? When do you think that is? And if you don't know, just put a question mark next to it, because that's something that you've still got a few weeks of holidays to figure out. Unless you're like, one of my friends actually started school today with her son. And we used to do that once. I used to do that once my kids got bored. Once they started arguing, I'd say, okay, that's it. Holiday's over. We're starting school. Okay, next thing, after alert, when do your kids need to move? Okay, when's their best move time, their best exercise time? Okay, the time that they're really, really active and can't sit still. And for some of you, you might be going, that's all day. That's all day. And that's okay, because you may need to have a lot of moving in your day, okay? Homeschool, remember, is concentrated. It's like cordial. You don't need very much of it to get a lot done. So it's okay if your kids are active a lot. When's your calmest time of the day? When's the time when your kids are most likely to just be calm? Again, for some of you, that might be 10 minutes if you're lucky. But try and pick that bit of the day when it might actually be just before bed. Or it might be when they're first waking up in the morning and haven't kind of got going yet. When's their calm time? Okay, when's their hungry time? When do they get hungry? When do they get hangry? Okay, when do you notice when they start to get hungry and you start to go, oh, we need food now to keep things level? Okay, when's their hungry times? This comes into the, we're up to the activities bit that Mel was talking about. When's your best time to spend time at activities and time with friends? If you're going to go out, which we used to have sometimes that we went out every day and other times that we hardly went out at all. When you're going to go out, when's your best time to go out with friends? Is that in the afternoon? After you've gotten your stuff done that you want to get done? Is that first thing in the morning, and then when you come home in the afternoon your kids are all worn out and can actually sit still? When's your best time to do that? Is it earlier in the week? Is it later in the week? Okay, so just note that down on your piece of paper. And if you haven't written down the flow thing yet, write the word flow. So flow is your concentrating time. It's the length of time that you can concentrate, and when in your day do you get that? When in your kids' day do you find them concentrating and focusing on something, not a screen thing, preferably? Try and think of when they can concentrate. It could be Lego or building or art or reading a book, or when's their time that they actually will settle down and concentrate on something that they're doing? Okay, your flow is really important, and you can actually teach them to find their flow, and you can actually work with them to develop their flow. So you can find your own flow first, so you know what it feels like, and then you can actually help them to develop their flow. And that your flow is part of what's going to help you get that independent learning thing happening. And for some kids it doesn't happen till they're older. And for lots of kids, their flow is pretty short, and you're going to actually have to work hard with them to help them develop it. For some kids have really long attention spans, and they have that flow thing. So Stacey, when you're thinking about helping your kids with their independent, to become independent learners, when you give them something that they understand, so you've got to make sure that they understand what they need to do, and that they feel really confident to do it, and they are competent to do it. Because you don't want to, they can't be independent in something that they don't feel confident and competent in. So you actually want to give them the things that they find easy and the things that they love. All right, that's a really important note. When you just write that one down, when you want your kids to be independent in their learning, give them something that is easy, that they enjoy doing. Because if it's easy for them and they enjoy doing it, they're more able to find their flow. And you can work with them on increasing their flow. You can focus on that. That's a really good thing to focus on, because if you can get them to find that flow thing, then they're going to be able to become more independent in their other learning. Okay, so you might sort of talk with them, like I want to explain to you what flow is. You can do some Googling so you can talk about it really well. And I want to help you find your flow. When do you think's your best time of day to find your flow? Now, when we've been doing the Hive, where we've got bunches of kids all together and we're all working together on like community days, we actually talked with a whole bunch of kids ranging in age from about 5 up to about 13, and we talked with them about the idea of flow, and we helped them to find that. And we talked about staying in one place. We talked about getting comfortable. We talked about picking something. We started with reading, picking a book that was good to read, that you were going to be able to sit and read by yourself, finding a good place where you felt comfortable, and then timing. How long can you stay there and actually concentrate? And then increasing your flow stamina. How long did you concentrate today? Set a timer, leave it on the table. Don't go and look at it. You can't go back until you're going to stop it. And then write down, how long did you manage to do that for? How's your flow going? How's your flow stamina? Okay, so that's a really good thing to do with your kids in helping them to develop their independence in their working. Okay, so now you've got all those things down the side or somewhere on your page. You want to think about what you want your flow to look like, what you want your week to look like. And it's really important that you don't start with a school structure. Don't start there. Now, you may end up with something like that, because that may be what works for you and your kids. And I have to say, what works for you, what you want, what I want, and what my kids want are probably two completely different things. And if you have 4 different kids, what they want will be 4 different things. Okay, so this is not an easy thing to do. However, mums, parents, mums and dads and grandparents, people that are homeschooling, we're actually good at this. Okay, for the most part. Like when you're thinking in your holidays, right? So most of us are on holidays at the moment. You think about your day and you plan out your day. You're going, well, we're going to go out with friends later this afternoon, but I've got to get some washing done this morning. It needs to get on the line by this time so that I can get it off before we go out, because it's supposed to rain overnight. Like, we actually juggle all that kind of stuff in our heads all the time. We actually think about our rhythm. In our holidays, we do rhythm, okay? So your goal is to try and use that competence that you have. Okay, so parents are good at this. Parents are good at rhythm. We know our kids. We know our kids quite well. We know what is actually going to work for them for the most part. And just by, if we're not sure on something, observe them. Sit and watch them. What you can do actually, if you want to know what your kids are actually doing, grab your phone, set a 15-minute timer on your phone, and put it on repeat for a day. It's going to drive you nuts for one day, right? However, at the end of every 15 minutes, just make a little mark on a piece of paper to explain what your child was actually doing. Like whether they were, you might get yourself a code, like were they moving, were they eating, were they reading, were they playing? Like you might get, were they arguing with their siblings? You might get yourself a little code, and just watch them through a day and see what their actual rhythm is. Once the 15-minute timer really gets on your nerves, you've got to turn it off, right? But just observing your kids every time, you could make it a little bit longer. So you could make it sort of like half an hour or even an hour. If you've got older kids, you might think, okay, what did I see them doing in the last hour? Yeah, they ate in the last hour. Try and get a little bit of a feel for what that is, because what you think is actually happening might not be exactly what's happening. And So that's going to help you to think about what their natural flow in their day looks like, and then talk with them about when they think their best, talk with them about the flow idea. When do they think their best learning time is going to be? Because you can always give it a go. You might be dubious as to whether 8 o'clock at night really is the best time to do their maths. And of course, if that falls over in the first few days, you can say, well, it doesn't seem like that's your best flow time to me. So maybe we've got to pick a different time if that's not working. Those procrastinators are, yeah, they're going to be saying their best flow time is after dinner, just before bed. I can see it coming. So then, going back to, I'm trying to find who it was. Mel they do lots and lots of activities. Okay. Now, if activities are a thing that really, really works for your family and you've got lots of them, I would actually stick those onto your plan first, because they're kind of non-negotiable. Once you've signed up for those things and you're doing those things, you really want to keep pulling those off. But one thing in that, don't overcommit yourself, because it doesn't feel good once you do that. You just end up with ratty you, ratty kids, messy house. And I know lots of homeschool houses are messy. I still haven't recovered from this. But you actually need enough time for downtime. You need to find that sweet balance where you've got enough time at home, enough time to do nothing, enough time to catch up on the things that you didn't get done that need doing, enough time to do the washing, enough time to do the food shopping and cook the meals and make phone calls, look after family, talk to friends, and particularly if you have a baby, you need lots of extra time in there. Okay, so think about how many out activities or online classes or whatever it is you're doing, how many of those are actually good for your family for this term. Okay, and you've got to put them in, because once you've chosen those and signed up for those, they're kind of non-negotiable. They create a lot of your rhythm. Okay, and that's okay. Mel, that's really, really okay if they're the best things for you to be doing. So I know that we've had terms of homeschool where a lot of our stuff has been out and activities out, and sometimes that's just so good. Sometimes just doing lots of different stuff actually makes our rhythm work really well. Just keep an eye on it, because if it's working super well in your family and half an hour 3 times a week is actually getting the bit of bookwork done that you need to get done for your family to work well, that's okay. All right. But if you're starting to feel like you're just spending all your life racing from one thing to another, then it's not working. And so then you want to think, okay, which things are actually really beneficial for us this term, and which things have I got to just put off just for a little while? Okay, it doesn't have to be forever. You can swap things around from one term to another, from one year to another. Just be gentle on yourself and gentle on your kids. Don't expect more of yourself and your kids than what you can actually really pull off. I need to say this to myself a lot. Okay. Lana, I know that you've got on here that you said that you and your 13-year-old were really excited, and now you're feeling a little bit nervous and you're starting next week. Just start slowly. Okay, this is for all of you who are new, and actually all of us who are not new as well. You put too much into your day and you're going to feel rattled within a day or two. It's going to fall over. Okay? We don't need to do everything in one day, and we don't need to start with a bang. Okay? So when you start slowly. Have small goals and start slowly. And I know it's so hard. Really, really hard, especially if you're like me and you want to create this magical timetable and you want to achieve a billion things. And then when it falls over, I'm going to feel frustrated with my child and they're going to feel upset with me. And it actually is counterproductive. I don't know whether any of you can relate to this. I'm saying this because it's something that I've done a lot of times. Okay, so if you're somebody who can actually learn from somebody else's mistakes, this is a really good thing to learn. Start slowly and don't fill up your week too much. Okay, take it easy, particularly when you start. Do a little bit more. Try and find your sweet spot from the low side, not from starting with too much and then having to tone it down. Okay, you're going to be fine, Lana. Just keep talking to each other. You're going to have a really good time, and just take it slowly and don't try and achieve too much all in one big hit. Okay, and we're here for you. All right, that's what we do in Simply Homeschool. Jump in the community group, ask your questions, talk to us. It's okay to post if you're having a good day. It's okay to post if you're having a bad day. We're here as a community to support each other. Now, Belinda, baby. One of my friends that I've been actually homeschool friends with, I met her right back when our now late 20s adult kids were our littles, and she said the lesson is the baby, and I really like that. It's really important to leave enough time for life. Okay, this precious little one is only little for a short amount of time, and your others, if they're just doing phonics, they are only little too. Okay, it's okay to juggle back and forth day to day. Also, you can have a chat if you really need to have a chat to work this out with one of our staff. You can actually ring our hotline and have a chat with somebody specifically for you. One thing you can do, instead of doing 2 different phonics cores, is do creative phonics with your youngest and use it as reading practice for your older one, because the books are actually really good for practicing their reading, and they can help the younger one with their phonics. And in actual fact, teaching somebody else what you know helps you learn it better. And so that can actually be a really good way to manage that without having a second phonics program on top. The other thing you can do, if you've got 2 different maths levels, is also get maths online and alternate between who you do maths with and who does maths online. Can be another way to do that. Our maths course is set up so that for the most part the maths in the book should be fairly easy. So you do the lesson with your child, and then they can practice their flow on the book, on the textbook, with the questions, because they should have been things that they've learnt. In theory, that's how it's set up. I know that doesn't work like that for all kids, but in theory that's how that's set up. Now, once you've got your big activities in, put your meals in. Put in when you need to eat, because this can actually help you structure your day, because sometimes the best time to catch your kids for learning can be connected with food, and food can actually drive some of your day. Okay, so I'll tell you a few ways that we used to do that. So one way I used to do it was I would make morning tea on a tray with all the bits on, and then so this was a baby thing. I would make the morning tea, and then I would put that down like on a coffee table, feed the baby, and read aloud at the same time. Everybody else's mouths were full with food. I could read aloud and feed the baby. I'm reading to my baby and my other kids. Grab some books out of Just Good Books, choose some read alouds, read books aloud and have discussions about them. Okay, so this can be meal focused, this can be morning tea focused, and is a really good way to link some of our learning to food while you've got your kids there. Another one is we did 4-unit food tech. This is why I'm going to do the Let's Cook classes, and because we did lots and lots of food tech. So food tech is really, really good for learning. It can cover lots of different things. So preparing meals can actually be a thing that you do together, or that your kids do before lunch. Fix food before lunch or before dinner, and that's actually part of their learning, because they're reading a recipe. If you're doing something like Children Just Like Me, or the Let's Cook online class, that's actually part of your structured learning that you want to get done. Okay. Another one is, that was a bit of a rescue for me when you've got multiple kids and you're busy, is I set up a quiet time in the afternoon that my kids had an audio book, and nobody was allowed to talk to each other. So everybody had to go to their own space. They could play Lego, or they could read a book, they could listen to an audio book, but they could draw, they could write, but they had to stay in their own space. And again, this is a flow thing. It took quite a long time for me to build up to an hour. So we started shorter and gradually got to an hour, so that I would have some brain space by myself. That was a bit of a lifesaver for me. If people have got any questions that you want to post, I'm not sure if the questions are actually coming up where I can see them, because normally the comments come up in a feed, so I'm not quite sure why I haven't got comments, whether people have just been watching and not... actually, I've just found all the comments. There you go. We're going to... I'm so sorry for not responding to that. I've just found all the comments now. If you've got questions, do feel free to post those in here, because we can hang around and have a little look at those, and we'll keep answering those over the next 24 hours or so. So Katie Mills has said her boys and her both have their best time from 2 till about 3 p.m. and they're night owls, okay? So this may mean that that's their time that they try and get their really structured core work done, or try and get their maths done, or try and get their writing done. Whatever it is, that's your key thing. It can also be really good to pick one thing that you really want to get done in that time. And if you do that, that's a bonus. If you get anything else done, that's a really good day. Katie also put about, I'm trying to get that to open up so I can see more of it. Their flow time is different. Yeah, so your kids will often have different length flow times, and you can help them build their stamina. Help them know this is a thing that grows, okay? So whatever your flow time is now, that's okay. If your flow is 30 seconds before you get distracted, one thing is, if they've got very little flow, ADHD can actually be an issue. And there's some really, really good stuff that you can do to help them increase their flow, particularly if they have ADHD. I'm just going to grab a book off my shelf. Give me just a second, because I want to show you a really good book. This book is awesome. This book is really, really good. You can see all my paper notes stuck in the top of it, okay? Really practical, really, really good ideas for helping kids to find better concentration, okay, and to deal with the things that cause them trouble with ADHD. Okay, I highly recommend this book. Really, really good. ADHD 2.0. That's really worth a read. I think you can get it on. I started with it on Audible, and then I ended up buying it because I wanted to tag it and underline so much stuff in it. We were using some of that at our hive to help kids improve their balance. Interestingly, standing on one foot with your eyes shut will actually help your balance, but it also helps your concentration. Planks. Doing planks is another one. Juggling is another one. There's some really, really good tips in that book. Let me just scroll down and see if there are any other... I'm just reading through a few. Julia said about 10 a.m. was about the earliest they could get themselves sorted. Yeah. And that can be the case. And we don't need to feel bad about that, Julia, because sometimes that's just the way it is. You need to make sure everybody's fed. You need to make sure the washing's on the line. You need to make sure if you've got a baby that you fed the baby and the baby's backed out. Like whatever it is, you need to make some phone calls. You can't do those till 9 o'clock when places open. Do what works for you. It doesn't need to look like school, okay? It's really important. Doesn't need to look like school at all. Let me just check if there's any other comments in here that I can... Start with fun activities to connect to each other and others. Yeah, that's a great suggestion, Emily. So sometimes a family thing first that helps your kids to connect well with each other and have fun together can be a really good thing. Same with exercise. Sometimes going for a walk with the dog, riding bikes, going to the skate park first can actually really help them wear off some energy before they've actually started their school. Okay, so keep dropping in your questions. And if you do actually need to have a conversation with somebody to work out some questions that you've got individually and that you're having trouble sort of finding your rhythm and you've got some questions you're concerned about, you can call our hotline, or you can our hotline staff are experienced homeschoolers, or else post in the community group. Because, and actually that's sometimes even better, because a lot of our staff are in the community group, but also so many other experienced homeschoolers in there, and people who are just a little bit ahead of you, people who've been homeschooling for a year or two, who are just that really sweet gap of still understanding where you're coming from and having just a little bit more experience. And I want to say too that it doesn't need to stay, reminder, it doesn't need to stay the same over the year. Okay? So as you go, as you learn stuff, as you find your sweet spot, it's going to change. Okay? Your kids are going to change, your kids are going to grow. Just keep moving with it. Do what you do best as a parent, right? We parent our kids. We watch our kids. We know our kids. We love our kids. We want the best for our kids. You are a good parent. You can do this. Okay? You really, really can do this. Okay? Just be kind to yourself. Be kind to your kids. And remember that this is a long journey. All the stuff in school can be learned in a very short space of time. Okay? This is about helping them to find, if you can help your kids learn to find their flow, if your kids get to the end of their school journey and they know how to learn, and they know how to find their flow, and they can concentrate, and they have good communication skills, and they can talk to you and talk to each other and talk to other people, and they know what they're interested in, and they know what they like, and they know what they're good at, they're pretty set. They're pretty set. All that content stuff, it's a bonus on top of that, okay? It's the relationships and the confidence in themselves to concentrate and to learn. Those are the things that really make a difference for their whole life. Okay? You got this. See you soon. We'll be back with some more lives very soon. Good night.